At Tiny Home Alliance Canada, we just love to share the amazing stories that can be found right here in our own community. We share these stories so our followers can learn more about tiny homes, the businesses that build them, and the people who live there. Today on Tiny Home Heroes, I'm having a chat with D'Arcy Mcnaughton, builder and co-owner at Acorn Tiny Homes in Ontario. He's also a business member in support of Tiny Home Alliance, and not only does he build incredible tiny homes, he and his family enjoy the tiny home lifestyle themselves. With a background in fire engineering, cabinet making, and general construction, there isn't much that Darcy can't tackle, and no job is too big or too small. Whether it's custom cabinetry or an entire mobile tiny home, Acorn Tiny Homes has you covered. Are you ready? Let's go meet Darcy. It is really good to finally meet you, Darcy, and see your face. I've seen enough pictures online, and you sent me a lot of really wonderful pictures, which will, if I haven't already thrown them up in the intro, we'll definitely see some of those great pictures of the homes you build. You'll build some beautiful homes. My first feeling when I looked at some of the interiors was, this not a tiny home. It had all the features of, what you would consider, 1,500, 5,000 square foot house with all the wonderful, nice, modern features and things like that. But this is a tiny home, and you're going, wow. You just get that wow feeling. And I get the impression that's kind of what you were going for. Why did you get started in this industry? It looks like you're almost too talented to be doing tiny homes.
That is far too kind of you to say. I myself just started as a hobby woodworker, and my passion kind of grew from there. I started working as a cabinet maker. My first project that got me excited that I built was a hope chest for my niece, and you'll see my kind of style carry right from day one with that to everything I do now. It can never be just one thing. It has to be so much, whether it's stylistic or functional. My first woodworking project I took on, adding splines to stiffen up the supports. There was a hidden drawer in it, multiple mediums of material that we're using, just because I really like to challenge myself. And as I mentioned, it can be more than one thing. A lot of builders, I find, go in with this sort of tunnel vision of, let's just create a home. Not a home, let's create a house. But they're missing the home element of it. You have to have that functionality in mind when you're creating the space, because especially in a tiny home, every single square inch matters. And if you haven't allocated that space for something and you just leave it open concept, a lot of end clients don't necessarily know how to effectively use the space themselves. So that's where we as builders need to come in with our space-saving techniques, our knowledge of different cabinetry, storage options, modular furniture, etc. Our knowledge is what makes tiny homes livable and homes.
And so how do you put that forward? How do you go about designing these with your clients? Do you offer just certain floor plans and work from there? Or do you really get into them and sort of go from the ground up and design something, really specifically for your clients? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have a completely holistic approach to our design process. So we enter into a deep dive consultation with our clients. We start off with a simple questionnaire, trying to find out what their intention with the space is, whether this is a investment property, a vacation home, or if this is their full-time home. We also want to find out, is this just your 5-year plan? Is this your forever home? What are your future plans with it? Are you going to have kids? Do you have pets? What is your plan so that this is not just something that is only useful for you for a year? We want to make sure that we're building a house that grows with you. This is establishing the precedent of, we really want to know our clients. From there, it's, what are your design styles? Do you have any floor plan suggestions that you really like? Or do you want me to really custom create something from the ground up, based off of what your lifestyle is? What your occupation is, how much time do you spend at home? Do you like to cook? Do you like to entertain? All of these things come to mind while I'm consulting with my clients, so that I make sure that this home is a perfect fit for them and their lifestyle, and not just a facsimile of something online.
Acorn Tiny Homes is an interesting title. It says a few things to me about tiny homes. Why Acorn Tiny Homes?
Acorn was a name that just resonated with us. It has that very earthy sort of appeal to it. It also really highlights how natural we as a company like to be. So Acorn Tiny Homes has been around for going on 2 years now. But prior to owning Acorn Tiny Homes, I did work for another tiny house builder, spending about a year there, learning the ins and outs of the industry, what works for some people and what I don't think really works for the industry, and where the industry is headed.
What was the break from where did you sort of stand there with your hammer in your hand and your belt on and say to yourself, I could probably do this better? What happened there?
So you hit the nail on the head right there. What made me think that I could do it better? I had some really interesting designs that I thought would help the tiny industry grow. And the builder that I was working with didn't really see it. They had a very sort of niche market that they wanted to hit that I don't think really supported the sustainability of the tiny house industry.
Glad to hear you say that.
I really wanted this to be an industry that is led by those that live the lifestyle, and not just those that are looking to make a dollar on those that want to live the lifestyle. So my wife and I had been talking for years about going tiny ourselves, and we decided to launch our company with the build of our own home. So I thought that this was a great proof of concept in terms of what I can do as a company and what I think tiny house living can really be. So we built our dream tiny home, highlighting all of the things that a tiny house can be if the budget exists, just so that we can show the general population that tiny house living doesn't have to be just composting toilets and solar panels. You can have beautiful homes that represent sustainability, but also have the modern luxuries that most people would like.
So how was that after you built your first house? You had it, you moved it. Did you move into it right away, or did you use it as a concept model? How did you get into that?
We started working on it in Thanksgiving, and we were in the house by June the following year. During the entire build process, since I was taking on other projects as well, it was a bit of a slow burn project, and we were using it as a proof of concept at the same time. But once we moved into it, funnily enough, we hadn't even finished the home when we moved into it. We didn't have running water. We didn't have electrical. Our kitchen counters weren't in. There was quite a bit of work that still needed to be done. But with how busy my schedule was at that point, because paying clients come first before yourself.
Of course.
The only way that my wife thought that I was going to be able to finish it was if I lived in it, so that come home from work, I can still spend another 2 hours every night working on the home.
Becomes a bit of a hobby, right? So do you have a big family?
So it's just my wife and my 16-month son.
Ooh, a 16-month son. So you moved into a tiny home that was unfinished with a young baby. How do you juggle that kind of a work-life effort?
During the early stages of the build, my son was everywhere with me. I would be wearing my baby Bjorn, and he'd be helping me sand some of our cabinets. Or there's a great photo of my wife doing some caulking on the interior, and she's wearing him as well. He, from day one, was involved in the construction and has just been around all of that. So it was a little bit easier earlier on because he'd nap most of the time that we were working. For the most part, it was just as long as you were wearing him and he could see what you were doing, he was just excited to watch and learn the build process. And you see a lot of that early development in his ability to thrive in the tiny house. I mean, we get a lot of comments online because we do have a few ladders, but he's grown up from day one learning how to use these ladders, whether we wanted him or not. We do have a small little 3-step ladder to get into his sleeping loft. And so for us, it's just been about teaching him from day one, like showing him where his hands go and helping support him so that he can learn how to climb. He can't do it on his own, but he's so close to being able to do it by himself. Just watching him learn and grow so at such a young age is just amazing.
Are there any unique clients that you've had the pleasure of working with that you may have a story to tell?
Yeah, so I've got quite a mixed bag of clients right now, and I think that's what's kind of exciting is it really requires me to be flexible, both in just my design ideals as well as just my build schedule itself. So we've got one client that we're about to start working on that is a Canadian Forces member. So what really is unique and interesting about this is, in my opinion, I think that tiny homes are a perfect solution for young Canadian Forces individuals. My brother, for example, is military, and so he's been subjected to quite a number of moves and relocations by his employer. And so with a lot of these members, every 3 to 5 years, they are moved somewhere else across the country. Every year, it becomes more and more difficult for these members to be able to afford to buy into the housing market. So the genius part about this for this member is he's just going to build his house once, and every time the military relocates him, he's just going to hook his house up and take it somewhere new.
Now that brings me to a question though about, and I have heard a few stories, all online, of course, about that sort of idea where military personnel tend to get moved around a lot, and it's not always with a lot of notice either. And so to be able to move your house around would be great, but I wonder, is it easier for them to just park their house because they're working with the military? Do they not have to deal with the normal insurance problems or challenges, the normal, where am I going to put my trailer challenges? Do those challenges not appear for military personnel?
They definitely do present in the same way that it would for everyone else.
Really? Okay.
The benefit is if you have a little bit more flexibility with your parking location, there's always options. Most trailer parks will take tiny homes as long as they are certified for year-round livability. So if you're open to that, it's always an option. And then in terms of insurance, I haven't come across any issues with receiving insurance for a moving tiny house. So it's something that I have myself because we take our house to different festivals and different events. So our insurance covers us even when we're on the road. So you might pay a little bit more, but if you want to ensure the protection of your home, it exists.
It exists. It's just, I think there a lot of work kind of sometimes has to go into that. Now you're in Ontario. Are you going to be at the August Tiny Home Trade Show by any chance?
We are. We will be bringing our home Domic to the show. That's our flagship home. And so that's the home that my wife and son and I live in year round.
Wonderful. So everybody can go visit Acorn Tiny Homes at the August Trade Show, and they can actually go and walk in and see the trailer and talk to you personally. So let's get into just sort of wrapping things up a little bit, a little bit of a shout out to our community, everybody who's listening and watching this or watching this video. What do you guys do best, and what's the best way to start with you guys? I'm
very down to earth and easy to get a hold of. So my number is the number on our website. So 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be the first person that you speak to in the company. And so calling us is an easy way if that's the way that works best for you. We do ask for emails or DMs on Instagram if you're not in a rush for any answers there. Instagram's definitely the best resource if you want to learn about what we're doing, more information about the tiny house industry and upcoming projects that we're working on. And then again, you can always DM us if you've got any questions.
Okay, and one final question then. Why go with Acorn Tiny Homes?
So at Acorn Tiny Homes, I do have to say right off the bat, we are not the cheapest, but we are affordable and we are custom. You will always get a quality build with us that is 100% built around you and your needs. So if you are looking for a tiny house that is as unique as you are, I think we're your best choice.
Honestly, Darcy, after talking to you today, I couldn't agree more. Looking at the wonderful pictures, your excellent design eye, your dedication to your clients, your dedication to affordable housing, it all rolls into one really interesting company, and a company that I definitely wanted to learn more about. Hopefully, I'll be able to have you back. And talking a little bit more about things as they happen. Maybe you'll have some interesting event or something, and let's get back together and talk about that. So it's been great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, this was Darcy from Acorn Tiny Homes. If you want to get a hold of him and find out more about their homes, their website is Acorn Tiny Homes. On the web, there's a lot of information, a fact page that has a lot of answers to all of your questions, wonderful images. Go there, follow them on social media. If you're interested in building a tiny home or asking questions about tiny homes, especially in Ontario, visit Darcy. Is just wonderful to talk to. So everybody, if you really like this video and you want to hear more interviews and more conversations, please make sure you follow us on social media. Go to patreon.com and become a member. You get a bunch of swag, you get access to content before everybody else, and all the great stuff that Patreon has to offer. So this is Frank saying goodbye to everybody from Tiny Home Heroes.